some could maybe. Yeah. You know what, going back to the masters.
You ready?
I am.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's regular meeting of the Woburn City Council of March 19, 2024. Just a reminder to everyone, tonight's meeting is being recorded for broadcast. Please silence your cell phones. If you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Higgins, would you call the roll, please?
Counsel Campbell.
Present.
Counsel Demers.
Present.
Counsel DeMambro.
Present.
Counsel Ferrullo.
Present.
Counsel Mercer Bruin.
Present.
Counsel Papalato.
Present.
Counsel Toro. Absent. Counsel Viola.
Present.
Chair Dillon.
Present.
Make a motion that we dispense with the reading of the previous meeting's journal and approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Make a motion that we suspend the rules to take the resolve regarding MS awareness out of
Second.
order.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Whereas multiple sclerosis, MS, is an autoimmune disease of the central nervous system that can cause symptoms throughout the body, ranging from difficulty walking to changes in memory or thinking abilities. And whereas since 1946, the National Multiple Sclerosis Society has been a driving force of MS research, relentlessly pursuing prevention, treatments, and a cure, and has invested more than $1 billion in groundbreaking research. And whereas funds raised through the National Multiple Sclerosis Society fuel research on pathways to cure MS and invest in the MS research workforce at the best medical centers, universities, and other institutions throughout the United States and abroad, leading to many breakthroughs in the treatment of MS. And whereas the mission of the National Multiple Sclerosis Society is to cure MS while empowering people affected by MS to live their best lives, and one that all Americans and Woburn residents should support. And whereas over 1 million individuals are living with multiple sclerosis in the United States and over 2.5 million are living with MS worldwide. Since 1975, the number of individuals who are living with MS has more than doubled, according to research. And whereas the month of March has been designated as Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month in the week of March 10th through 16th, 2024. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Woburn does hereby extend wishes of good health to all who are battling multiple sclerosis and urge all its residents to support charitable efforts of local organizations to help fight this terrible disease. Be it further resolved, the City Council of the City of Woburn do hereby urge all Woburn's residents to join in declaring March 2024 as Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month in the City of Woburn, signed by all the councilors on the City Council.
Make a motion that the resolve be adopted.
Second.
The motion and a second that this resolve be adopted. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
If I may, Mr. President, if I can invite Jen Fuller up just for a picture with us, the resolve,
Please do.
the National MS Society.
Please do. Thank you for all you do.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to return to the regular order of business.
Second.
Motion and a second to return to regular order of business. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda, we have a communication requesting that Richard Benevento from Ty and Bond present an update with the status of the downtown Woburn Traffic Improvement Project.
Make a motion that we receive the communication, make it part of the permanent record.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll also
Passes.
make a motion that we suspend the rules to allow His Honor Mayor Concanon and his or designees to speak.
Second.
Motion and a second. That passes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
How are you tonight?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Members of the council, thank you for the time. Thank you for suspending your rules to allow us to speak. I'll be brief. I will be turning it over to our city engineer, Jay Corey, and Rich Benevento from Ty and Bond for a brief update on the status of the project. I think everybody is familiar with the Downtown Safety Improvement Project we've been reviewing and preparing for a few years now. We've allocated some funds in the past to do preliminary design. You'll see a subsequent order, the next matter on your agenda, additional funds to get to the next phase of design to advance this project. I will tell you that we were fortunate to get this project onto the TIP, the Traffic Improvement Project Plan. At this point in design, we were very fortunate. I think that goes to the fact that it's an important project driven by safety concerns, which, of course, matters greatly to the Metropolitan Planning Organization and the TIP process in general. I was on a call the other day, last Thursday, where the MPO, the TIP committee, is reviewing a series of projects, including ours, and they're dealing with a bit of a deficit they've had in funding. So they're reviewing whether some of these projects may get pushed back a little bit further or not, or God forbid, one of them could perhaps be deprogrammed and have to start over again. We're cautiously optimistic. There'll be another meeting this Thursday where the committee will make its decisions. We have weighed in, and we feel cautiously optimistic that we're advancing. So I think we're in a good place right now, and we are eager to advance this and get this going. And again, I'd like to ask Jay Corey and Rich Benevento to give you some more substantive details. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Concanon.
Thank you. You want to add anything?
All you.
Okay, it's all me.
I'll do color.
Excellent. Good evening, members of the council, Mr. President. Thank you for being here. I've been here before to talk about this project, so we're here again tonight to talk about it. As the mayor mentioned, the Boston MPO is wrangling a little bit with projects in terms of some of the deficit in funding. Actually, they have a surplus in 2 years, which means that they are moving projects forward, which puts a deficit in some of the latter years. The MPO works on a tip cycle. Right now, we're in the 23 to 26 tip cycle. It'll then go to the next 24 to 27, 25 to 29, so on and so forth. The project is currently on the tip for over $17 million, which is pretty significant. One of the important aspects, and I mentioned this to the mayor earlier, is generally projects don't get programmed on the tip until you are through the preliminary design and have had your official Mass DOT design public hearing. Woburn was very fortunate that as soon as this project received approval from Mass DOT as eligible for funding, it was programmed on the tip. That doesn't happen all the time. And it's mainly because of the safety reasons of Woburn Center, its regional significance. for people in the area, for business, and all of that. So that's why it's a very, very important project. Our original agreement, and you may recall, I was here as World Tech. My company was acquired by Ty and Bond a year ago this past January. But you may recall that we were here before, and our original scope was really to do the topographic survey, to do the traffic study, and to do some conceptual planning. We were about 20% of the total of what we needed to actually get to the preliminary design phase. What's involved in preliminary design? A lot of requirements from Mass DOT. We have to do a traffic study. There's a new thing they just come out with. It's called an ICE analysis, an intersection control evaluation. There's several submittals. We have to look at right-of-way. But most importantly, we need to be meeting with the public, and we need to be meeting with the residents and businesses in the area so we can meet with them and tell them about the project and get them up to speed on the project and talk about all aspects of the project, things like parking, things about right-of-way, things about all of the other things that go with this project, particularly in the downtown. So it's very important that we start that public process as we move forward. As I mentioned, it's on the tip for $17 million. Next steps would be to get into the deep preliminary design, ultimately getting to a submission to Mass DOT, have them go through their review, and then have an official Mass DOT design public hearing. Right now, we're anticipating that the 25% design submission would be somewhere around this fall, November, December of this year, with an official Mass DOT design public hearing in the spring, perhaps right around this time next year in March. And then after that process, it's pedal to the metal with all of the final details of the design, where we're putting that package together. The project was originally programmed on the 26 tip. They have moved that out a little bit. One of the big important aspects of projects like this with the Boston MPO is project readiness. And that's what we need to do. We need to really start advancing the project forward. But pedal to the metal, green lights, we're ready to go. Jay?
Yeah, I think right now what we're trying to do is get to the 25% milestone. That is key for the MPO. That keeps us on track with the project, and it allows us to move forward. The other thing, as Richie mentioned, is we need public input. There are a lot of moving pieces to this. Are you moving parking? Some spaces are going to move. How is your traffic circulation going to change? What's your pedestrian access going to be like? Are you going to have a pedestrian phase with every light cycle change? Where a bicycle is going to go? We have to meet something called complete streets requirements. And our right-of-way just isn't large enough to do it. So we have to meet the spirit of the law without meeting the intent of the law. And to do that, you have to go through a series of design exceptions with Mass DOT, which are rather time-consuming. So there's a lot to get done to keep everything on track. And if we appropriate the necessary funds as requested by the mayor, that'll allow us to engage Ty and Bond and move forward with the process. With that, I would turn it back to the president and members for any questions.
Just one
Any
thing,
questions?
just one thing I would like to add. Just, is everybody familiar with the project limits? I know, Darlene, you are. Is everyone familiar with the project limits? I'll just very quickly, in case people are watching at home, Pleasant Street, beginning at Court Street, Main Street, beginning at High Street, through the center, all the way up to Salem Street, Common Street, of course, and then Montvale Ave down as far as Greenwood. So it's a pretty significant project. It's the entire downtown, so.
Councilor Byrne.
Thank you both for the update. It's interesting, I was coming downtown to meet with some folks not too long ago and trying to make my way around that road here. I was like, gosh, I wonder where we are with that. So thank you for coming down. So the way I understand it, we have not submitted a 25% design yet. That's correct. Okay, because as you all know, hitting those milestones is very important to staying on the tip.
Exactly.
And easily we could slip down if we don't hit those milestones. So tell me a little bit about, I know we have a finance piece in front of us for us to vote on to get us to that point. Tell me a little bit about how the project's going to be managed to get us to 25%. What resources will be at your disposal? Are you going to manage this project, Bob? And what is the plan for community outreach? I would think we all have some of those things in our heads now. If we're shooting for, what did you say, we're gonna have that design done?
We'd like to have the submission by the end of this year,
Okay, so,
November timeframe.
so in order for you to have a submission ready for the end of the year, I would imagine we're gonna see you here at least 3 or 4 times between now and then. Is that how you plan to manage the community outreach, Jay? Is that the plan, is to do it through these public hearings, or will there be additional meetings?
Envision a fairly robust public outreach. We want to speak to the WRA, the downtown merchants, the people who live above the buildings. So we just came from a bikeway public hearing where we had about 50 or 60 people. It was well turned out. I think we're going to have similar numbers for the downtown project. We're going to advertise on Facebook. We're going to get the word out through email bases. And very shortly, we're going to be talking with the downtown members and residents to say, these are the types of things we're going to be looking at. What are your concerns? So, you know,
And just to add to that, we're involved with a couple of really significant projects in the city of Lynn. The Weston Ave project, it's a $47 million project, and Essex Street, another $20 million project. And the first kickoff meeting with the public was, we're not showing anything to speak of, maybe some really basic concepts, but here are a bunch of sticky tabs, and we want to know what's important to you. What do you want to see town center look like? What's important? Is landscape and amenities, those important? Is pedestrian access important? Is parking important? We need to get that input so that we can tailor the project to Woburn. Now, granted, there are some things that Mass DOT says you absolutely can't deviate from this, and then there's other things you have tons of latitude with, and then there's those areas in the middle that Jay talked about. Well, we're going to be requesting waivers and trying to get to détente, if you will, with Mass DOT. So to your question, the project we need to start meeting with the public. You recall, we were here a long time ago talking about this project.
Right.
And
That's what concerns me a little, because it has been quite some time, and I know,
dates down here.
yeah, I know how long these things can get dragged out. And one of my biggest fears is that we're gonna spend money on this 25% design, and then not hit our next milestone and have to do that 25% design again. And that happens, I've seen it happen, not with this project here, but I don't wanna see that happen again. So that's why I'm asking about the schedule. I'm asking about how it's going to be managed. I know you have the conceptual designs. We saw them. I would imagine that'll be part of how you start the conversation.
Exactly.
Is there any monies built in to use for the reach out to the community?
Yes.
Aside from, as Jay mentioned, the
so-
Facebook and, not the Facebook, and various other things.
So the original preliminary design fee, we had preliminary design Phase 1A and Phase 1B. We never got to Phase 1B. Phase 1A was, as I mentioned, concepts, topographic survey, parking and traffic study. We did all of that, and public outreach. We have about half of the first preliminary design fee still left. We still have that available. But we really need to get all the way to the 25% design, and we never got that authorization to do that. We never really got there. A lot of this has to do with local decisions, if you will. For example, we're also doing Washington Street and Brookline. There are several decisions that are going to be community decisions that have to be made. We can design anything you want. We're going to try and guide you through that process, but it's important that when it's time for a decision, we need to be able to get to a decision. And some of it is compromise. I often tell when I go to either a meeting like this or a public hearing on a project, no one is going to walk out of the room and say, I got everything I wanted. But if we can walk out and say, didn't get everything I wanted, but this is a good project, it's good for the community, that's what we need to get to. And part of that public outreach is the process in which we do that. I'm not concerned about our ability to get the 25s done, the preliminary design. The bigger concern would be to getting to decisions, like we need to make a decision. And some of those decisions are gonna be hard. For example, and I'm not saying we haven't looked at it enough yet, that we may have to eliminate some parking, but in some cases, some of that parking may already be illegal and people are parking there, and guess what? That space is going away. So it's gonna be things like that.
Okay. So I do, and I appreciate you, the mayor and Jay, and Bob, for coming down. I still, when we get to the point where we vote on the funding, I'd still like to see a little bit more details about that timeline and how and what those decisions are and how they're going to be managed by the city. Maybe Mayor Concanon can provide us a little bit more detail when we talk about the funding and
Just want to talk
vote
about
on
the
that.
schedule. So, go ahead, Ray. Good, Jay.
Well, I was going to say, I assume this will go to committee, Alderman?
I would think so.
Yes. At such time, we would go before the committee. Richie has a project schedule, which has milestones all the way through 25%, which includes the public participation, public outreach. So I think that would be a good time to discuss.
And just to follow on what Jay's saying, I think we had prepared a Gantt chart schedule a while back, and, you know, all colored up and it looks nice. The schedule that we have to give to Mass DOT would fit on that wall. It's huge, and it's every little thing that we have to give to Mass DOT. Mass DOT has been contacting me for the better part of the last 12 months. What's happening in Woburn? Is the project moving forward? So they're very anxious to get this project moving. So I think the stars are in alignment, if you will, that everybody's interested in the Woburn Center project. Let's get things going. And that's why the mayor, and thank you, Mayor, for being there. Mayor was at the MPO meeting last week to let the MPO know that the city of Woburn is in support of the project. His office is in support of the project to advance this and get it moving.
And
So-
not to put too fine a point on it, but at the end of the day, I'm not asking, and perhaps other councilors have different ideas, but I'm not asking you to fill the wall with every single thing that has to go to Mass DOT. But I'd like to see most of what we need to do.
Oh, absolutely.
In bullet points to get us to November to that goal of the 25%
On a piece of
design.
paper right
Because
here.
there could be things that we could help with, I would think, as city councilors, especially with the community outreach, to help things move along. So I've taken up enough of your time. I appreciate everything. And thank you to Mayor Concanon for keeping this moving along, and
We
you
had
too,
put
Jay.
a very limited list, just because we were going to the MPO and we wanted to give them information too. So we had ICE waiver to Mass DOT, the intersection control evaluation, going in this month, I believe next week. Public outreach, May and June of this year. Pre-25 concept over-the-shoulder review with Mass DOT, June or July, because we have to get through ICE first before they'll do that. All right, so June or July with that. 25% submission, November of '24. Design public hearing, March 25. 75% submission, October of '25. 100% submission, early 2026. PS&E, mid-2026. PS&E is plan specs and estimates. That's like the final submission. Now, this is all contingent upon Mass DOT reviews.
I'm sorry, I don't seem to have a copy of that in my packet. Did I miss that?
Sorry?
Does everybody else have a copy of that?
No, these are my crib notes.
Okay.
You can take this if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept that as part of the permanent record when Bob's finished with.
Second.
Motion and a second to accept that. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Any other questions from the council? Yes, Councilor
I
DeMamba.
just want to touch base on what you said. You said that the Mass DOT has been looking for this information for almost a year. I mean, I hope they understand that we have changed administration, and we have changed our mayors. So hopefully they'll be a little lenient on that. But other than that, this current administration, as well as the council, is very, very excited on this project. So I hope they take that all into consideration, and they don't just 86 us into a barrel. So I hope this stays true and stays moving forward, because we're all looking forward to this, and it's desperately needed within our city.
These projects are a two-part process. The first part is the Project Review Committee, which is Mass DOT, and they determine if the project's eligible for funding. That got approved. The second part is it has to get placed on the tip in order to be funded. As I mentioned, generally, these projects don't get funded until after the 25% design is approved and you have a design public hearing. This project was so important that it got programmed almost right out of the gate. So in my 40-something years of doing this, I started when I was 5, I've never seen Mass DOT or Mass Highway before that get a project and then just put it in the shelf and not build it. So I'm bullish about this. I was mentioning to the mayor, don't worry until I start worrying, and I'm not worried.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And we look forward to everything.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
From the council.
Make a motion to return the regular order of business.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion and a second,
Thank
all in favor?
Make a motion that the matter be placed on file.
Second.
Motion and a second, this is placed on file, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is an order transferring $450,000 from unreserved fund balance account to downtown safety project account for the downtown Woburn Safe Traffic Safety Improvement Project.
Make a motion the matter be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Second.
Motion and a second that this matter be referred to the Committee on Finance, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next on the agenda is a communication and order amending the Woburn Municipal Code by adding section 2-12C, assistant to the mayor/chief of staff, and section 2-180, base salaries for the new position. A communication dated March 14, 2024 was received from his honor the mayor, Michael.
Make a motion the communication be received and made part of the permanent record.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Make a motion the matter be referred to the Committee on Ordinance, Charter, and Rules.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda we have under new petitions is the James L. McEwen Boys and Girls Club of Woburn for a special event permit for a road race and health walk starting at Charles Gardner Lane and along area streets on May 5th, 2024.
Should I suspend the rules, Lindsay?
If you would like someone to talk, you need to
Make a
specify.
motion to suspend the rules to allow Mr. Crawford from the Boys and Girls Club to speak.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Drew Crawford from the, representing the James L. McEwen Boys and Girls Club tonight, and here, appear before you folks with all the requisite paperwork and approvals from the city, the sign-off from fire and police and the rest for permission to hold our annual Kick In for Kids road race and health walk on May the 5th, coming out of the Boys Club. And all your packets, I think you have the race route and all the information, all the details there. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the council?
Make a motion that the special event permit be granted.
Second.
A motion and a second that this be granted, all in favor?
Aye.
Most appreciative, and I hope to see any and all of you May the 5th. If any of you have, a lot of faces have been there in the past. It's a tremendous community day, and invite you to be a part of it. And hopefully we'll have a great weather that day as well. Thanks so much.
Andrew,
Thank you.
thank you for what all you and the Boys and Girls Club do for our community. You do great work.
Thank you.
Motion to return to the regular order of
Thank you.
business.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, return the...
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda we have is a petition by Woburn Host Lions Club for special event permit for a charity dog walk at Hon Pond and area streets on May 11th, 2024, with a request for a waiver of umbrella liability insurance.
Make a motion that the matter be referred to the Committee on Public Safety and License.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is a petition by Connoisseurs Products Corp. for a special permit under sections 5.1 subsection 30B, subsection 40AB, subsection 42, section 7.3, and section 12 of the Woburn zoning ordinances to allow for the alteration of existing non-conforming use and building for the continued use of office, light manufacturing, and warehouse space with parking by constructing a one-story addition, reduction of parking spaces, and increasing of loading docks at 17 Presidential Way.
Make a motion the matter be referred to a public hearing.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that this referred to a public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is a petition by Garage 42 Degrees LLC, request for minor modification to special permit dated November 7th, 2023 by replacing the 3-month time limit with 9 months at 20 Sonar Drive. A communication dated March 14th, 2024 was received from Attorney Joseph R. Tarby.
Make a motion that communication be received, made part of the permanent record.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Make a motion to suspend the rules to allow the attorney for the petitioner to speak.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
How are you tonight, Attorney Tarby?
Thank you. For the record, Attorney Joseph Tabby, Woburn and Redmond, 500 Unicorn Park Drive in Woburn. So with this request, we submitted a request that the matter be sent off to the Special Permits Committee so that we can provide all of the detail that's gone on since the permit was issued in November. We've retained engineers, we've done studies, we've had meetings with Councilor Papalato, President Dillon, Mayor Tom Quinn. We also had a site visit a couple of weeks ago. And rather than take up time this evening with a PowerPoint presentation, we're looking to do this in committee next week, if the committee's meeting next week. So.
Any questions for Attorney Tabby?
Make a motion to return the regular order of business?
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Make a motion that the matter be referred to the Committee on Special Permits.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda we have under public hearings is NSTAR Electric Company for grant of location to install one new joint pole approximately 110 feet south of pole 591-26 on Commerce Way. I don't believe the petitioner is here right now, but I do want to make a note that an email communication from Jay Duran was sent to me saying that he hadn't had contact with them, and so either to continue it or deny it, but he cannot approve it tonight. Or he said he could not recommend approving it.
Make a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Is there anyone here in the public that would like to talk about this petition? Please step forward.
Mr. President, through you to Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, did Superintendent Durant indicate if he thought something may occur before the April 2nd or the April 19th meeting? Because I'm thinking we could make a motion to bump this out a little bit as one final continuation.
He did not.
All right, I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing until the regular meeting of the City Council on April 19th.
Second.
Second.
A motion and a second to continue the public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda we have is PDC Renal, et cetera, for a special permit pursuant to section 5.1, subsection 45, and 12.2.4 of the Woburn zoning ordinance to allow for the sale of rental of automobiles, trucks, truck trailers, and motorcycles, including accessory repair and storage facilities, and 2, construction of a new building approximately 50,500 square feet in gross floor area at 399 Washington Street. A communication dated March 4th, 2024 was received from Attorney Joseph R. Tabry requesting that this be withdrawn without prejudice.
Make a motion the communication be received and made part of the permanent record?
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to allow Attorney
Second.
Tabby to speak.
You don't have to suspend the rules.
Don't have to?
No,
Okay.
he's a petitioner.
Attorney
I don't know if he
Tabby?
wants to speak.
Okay.
Attorney Joseph Tabby here on behalf of the petitioner. We had submitted a letter requesting leave to withdraw without prejudice, and great disappointment. I would like to make that request to the city council and hope that somehow this, deal can be resurrected at some point in the future.
Make a motion that the public hearing be open? I'll
Yes.
withdraw my motion.
Just
Councilor
for,
Bruin.
yep, I just want to clarify, because the people at home might not know what this petition is related to in terms of the way it's outlined here, but you're referring to the permit by Tesla.
That is correct.
Yes, sir. Okay, I just want to make sure that that was made clear.
Thank you for the
Okay.
clarification.
Thank you.
Make a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to come forward and speak on this matter?
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
I'll make a motion that the request to leave to withdraw without prejudice be granted?
Second, and on the motion, I'd just like to echo the thoughts of Attorney Tarby. I don't think we really even got to see enough of this petition. But hopefully something could be worked out somewhere down the line.
Thank you.
Thank
A
you.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is Hannaford and Dumas Corporation for a special permit pursuant to section 5.140AB, section 5.1 subsection 42, subsection 57B, section 7.3, section 8.2.5, section 15, to allow for construction of a two-story addition, as well as one box truck with a reduction of parking at 24 to 26 Con Street. A communication dated February 21st, 2024 was received from Tina Cassidy, the planning director. In one moment. I believe that's the only communication.
Make a motion the communication be received and made part of the permanent record.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Attorney Tarby, you have the floor.
Yes, again, Attorney Joseph Tabby, Woburn and Redmond, 500 Unicorn Park Drive, here on behalf of the petitioner. As you know, prior to the last public hearing, we had received a memorandum from the city engineer's office requesting a number of things, including stormwater report. In addition, we have the communication from the planning board. Engineer's been working on gathering all that information, but as of today has not yet completed it, and we'd be looking to continue this to your April 2nd meeting.
Very good.
Make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to come forward and speak in this matter? Please step forward.
Make a motion that we continue this to the regular meeting of the city council on April 2nd.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second to continue this, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is Citizens Bank for a special permit with site plan review under section 11.6, subsection 10, section 7.3, 13.5, and section 18.4 for the demolition of a portion of the building and construction of a new building addition with drive-up ATM service at 1 Commerce Way. A communication dated February 23rd, 2024 was received from Jay Corey, the city engineer, as well as a communication dated February 23rd, 2024 was received from Jay Corey as well. And then one from March 6th was an email from Alan Roscoe with the updated site plan drawing and stormwater report.
Make a motion that the communications be received and made part of the permanent record.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
I don't know if Mr. Roscoe is here. Oh, there he is, yes.
How are you tonight, Mr. Roscoe?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Very good. Good to see you.
Yeah, for the record, Alan Roscoe from TF Moran, representing Citizens Bank. Just an update, we received today some communication from the engineering office and the DPW. So we have a punch list of items to address, and also, finally, we have some specificity on the traffic signal improvements that are to be made at the Lowe's driveway. So we have to digest that and figure out if we can share those costs with some of the other businesses on Commerce Way, but at least we have that and know what we're facing. So given that, and with some of the items that we have to address, unless there's any other questions, I just wanted to provide that update and see if we could come back in a month's time.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the council? Yes, Councilor Boone.
I appreciate that you've had time now to meet with Superintendent Duran. And I did see the memo from Engineer Corey about the mitigation. I would like to discuss this in committee. I don't want to wait a month's time for this particular piece of it. I'd just like to comment that at some point, when we get to the finish line here, whatever the mitigation is going to be, I want to be 100% sure it should be falling on your shoulders. because of the project that you're doing, because we don't want to just take money from people. Also, I want to be sure you understand, it's, as the city councilor of this ward, not a big fan of taking money from people. I'd like to see us get the work executed. And I did see the offer from the engineer's office that perhaps they could do it. I'm concerned about that, and I'm going to say that to you publicly, because our engineer's office is stretched to the limits already. So if that's the kind of thing that you're going to have conversations about, it's going to have to be made very clear to me how it's going to be executed.
No, that's fair.
So I thought it would be fair to say that to you and not wait another couple of weeks when we're in committee.
No, we would welcome having those discussions, and I was only asking for a month because of some of the additional items that we were requested to do by Mr. Duran, so
Well, perhaps we can have a committee meeting in 2 weeks?
that'd be perfect.
Okay, all right, if the council is willing. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Questions?
Make a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Anyone here in the public that would like to step forward and talk on this issue, please do so.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing to the regular meeting of the council on April 19th.
Second.
Motion and a second to continue the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next item on the agenda is Best Fitness of Woburn, Inc. for a special permit under Section 5.1, subsection 69, Section 7.3, Section 13.5, and Section 15 of the Woburn zoning ordinance, as well as modification of previously issued special permit to allow for, 1, a health and wellness spa, 2, 671 parking spaces that previously exist, 3, primary wall sign for the health and wellness spa, and 4, revised site plan at 350 Cambridge Road. A communication dated February 12th, 2024 was received from Tina Cassidy, the planning director. And then one moment, please. And that is the only communication.
Make a motion that communications be received and made part of the permanent record?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Okay, for the record, Attorney Joseph Tabby, Rubin and Redmond, 500 Unicorn Park Drive in Woburn. Here on behalf of the petitioner Best Fitness of Woburn, Inc. With me this evening is Adam Campagna of the Recovery Wellness Spa and Mark Johnston of Best Fitness. So the petitioner is seeking a special permit to modify the special permit that was first granted on December 9th of 2004. And we're talking about Horn Pond Plaza on the west side at the Winchester line. First approved in December 9th of 2004, and it was last modified on January 30th of 2020. So the petitioner is seeking the following special permits under 5.169, which addresses nonconforming uses, Section 7.3, which addresses nonconforming uses, 13.5, which addresses signage, nonconforming signage, and Section 15, which is the Groundwater Protection Act. To allow for a health and wellness spa, which falls under the umbrella of medical offices that are allowed by right under Section 5.133A. The health and wellness spa will be located adjacent to Best Fitness. Then to allow for 671 parking spaces, where 796 are required. All is shown on the plans that we filed with this petition. The 671 parking spaces are the existing parking spaces that have been on the premises for many, many years. Also looking to approve a primary wall sign for the health and wellness spa, and then a revised site plan. So this property is located in a business highway zoning district, and the property in uses are non-conforming for two reasons. One, shopping centers are not allowed in the BH zoning district. When this property went through the 1985 zoning, for some reason it was left in the BH zoning district, which doesn't allow shopping centers. So We've been before the council many times seeking approvals for, in some instances, uses are allowed by right, such as this one, but since the property is non-conforming, we have to come before you under section 7.3. And also, the parking and signage on the site has been in existence since 1979. So back on April 25th of 2019, the council issued a special permit to the Hon Plaza LLC, the former owners of the shopping center, to allow for the alteration of the Toys R Us building for a fitness center and a indoor commercial playground, which turned out to be Launch Trampoline. Best Fitness is going through their build-out of the fitness center, and they're looking to lease to Covery Wellness Spa approximately 2,097 square feet of space that would operate a medical spa similar to the spa over at Woburn Village, Restore Hyper Wellness. Medical offices are allowed by right under the zoning ordinance. As I just said, since it'll occupy space originally is approved as part of the fitness center, and since the shopping center is not an allowed use, a special permit under 7.3 is required. So the Covery will provide, similar to the facility at Woburn Village, various therapies designed to allow their clients to achieve health and wellness goals. The service include, but not limited to, a number of live therapies, meditation, IV therapy, heat therapy, cold therapy, compression therapy, to name a few. In addition, we submitted a sign plan for the facade plan. The proposed sign is 53.1 square feet, which, along with the Best Fitness signage of 268.33 square feet, totals 321.43 square feet, where 594 square feet is allowed. So it's below the allowance for signage. As you can see from the site plan, there are no physical changes to the parking lot. There's no physical changes to the building. What I'd like to do before I address the planning department comment letter, I'd like to submit 3 documents. One was the floor plan that was requested by the planning department, along with a copy of the signage plan, and then a list of working conditions for this proposal.
I make a
If I could
motion
submit
to
those.
accept and make part of the permanent record.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, in response to the planning department comment letter on the first item, as to the use, health and wellness spas have fallen under the medical umbrella, and we're good to proceed forward under that section. Number 2, floor plan should be submitted. We've submitted the floor plan. That's not one of the filing requirements, but we have provided that this evening. And then number 3 talks about information regarding refuge facilities for the establishment and deliveries. Well, the way this is going to work, there's going to be a main entrance to the fitness center, and then off to the left, the premises for the spa will have their separate entrance, separate premises. won't be connected to the fitness center. But they will have access to the dumpster behind the building and the loading docks behind the building to accept deliveries to the spa. So there's no issue with those. And the last comment, I think was made an error. The request was for a sign, but the petition provides no information about a sign. Well, we referenced the sign in the cover letter, and we submitted a copy of the proposed sign with this petition. So those were the four comments from the planning department. And be happy to answer any questions you have about the overall use.
Any questions, Attorney Tarby? Yes, Councilor Campbell.
I'm going off of the planning board recommendation here. So will there be licensed doctors or nurses on the site diagnosing patients or any type of medical conditions?
Yeah, I'm going to, Adam, could you come up here and address? You can just identify yourself for the record.
Sure. Good evening. My name's Adam Campana with Recovery Wellness Spa.
Yes, so can you tell me, is there going to be any licensed doctors or nurses on the site diagnosing patients or medical conditions?
Yes, we will, on site, we'll have licensed nurses, nurse practitioners, and they will be overseen by a medical director that we have as well.
Okay, that's good to know. It says that you, I haven't looked at, I just got the plan, so I haven't looked at it, but my question is, you're going to have all of the, you're going to have spa rooms, but you're not going to have any office at all, according to this?
It's not required, necessary to have an office. We do have treatment rooms.
Yep.
But I won't need an office per se.
Okay, so it's all going to be treatment rooms?
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about what kind of therapies you're going to be doing?
Yes, for sure. IV fluids, that would be overseen obviously by, mentioned as a nurse practitioner. Infrared sauna, cold plunges, compression, and hydrofacials, and hyperbaric oxygen therapy as well.
Okay, are you a doctor?
I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
Just a passion for fitness and wellness, and that's what my
How
background is.
did you get into all of this?
I've been in sales for roughly 15 years in the fitness industry, but just being an athlete growing up, I was always had a passion for peak performance and wellness and longevity, and as I've grown older and now having parents grow older, anything to help kind of slow the aging process and live a more comfortable life. I've always been super interested in those modalities.
Okay. That's really about it. There is something here about a sign, but actually, Councilor Viola said that he happens to see a sign on the building already. Is that correct? Do you have a sign on your building?
I do not. There's a sign for Best Fitness.
Oh, okay.
And the much smaller to the left is where the proposal would be for my sign, but there
Okay.
is nothing there at this time.
Right, okay, for that. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Councilor DeMambro.
So looking at this, this print you have here, how many people do you think will be in this facility at any given time?
The max amount of people, memberships and clients would be roughly 10, with about a max of four people working. So 14 would be the absolute max at any given time, but I don't foresee that really happening
And
too
from
often.
what I'm seeing on this print, you've got one unisex restroom, and it shows one toilet. Is that the only bathroom that'll be in the facility?
Yes, for
To
the
handle all
space,
14,
correct.
that'll cover it?
14 is, me just being fully honest and transparent. I don't ever foresee it being near that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Demers?
Thank you, Mr. President. Attorney Tarby, if my memory serves me correct, is this, so we would require a special permit under any use that would require muscular therapy? Would that are we getting into a gray area when discussing that right now, or is it just different terminology being used for basically muscular therapy?
No, there's no you don't do muscular therapy.
No massage therapy, muscular therapy, no.
So it's just more of the less common treatments that are out there now that are becoming more popular?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Byrne.
They are, for my fellow counselors, many of those things are very popular in California and other places, and some of those housewives shows, admittedly, I watch them, so I recognize many of the things that you said. My question was, are you affiliated with any of the physical therapy organizations around us? You know, we have quite a few. Are those people potentially your clients, to say to them, hey, we offer other things outside of the routine physical therapies?
For sure, but there's no affiliation by any means?
No affiliation, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
You know, just as much as, you know, Best Fitness, no affiliation per se, but those would be many people that would potentially be members.
And if I heard you correctly, that the cold, what did you call it, the immersion or the cold, that's when you get into the cold,
Cold plunge, correct?
really cold tub?
Yes,
Okay. All right, thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions from the council?
Make a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
A motion and a second to open the public. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak on this petition? Please come forward. Seeing no one. Is there a motion to close the
I'll
public
make a motion to
hearing?
close the public hearing. I'll withdraw that and defer to the counselor from the ward.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, can I just ask one other question?
Sure.
The comment from the planning board about the sign, is that, do we have anything on the sign? Oh, here it is.
If we can step back forward and answer the question regarding Councilor Campbell's concern on the sign, please.
Yeah, as part of this petition, we did submit a sign plan, and as part of the
Yeah.
handout tonight, I included another copy of it. And the note on the sign plan is, you know, building frontage, 2,973 square feet, sign allowance, 20%, 594. Permitted best fitness sign, 268.33. Proposed covery sign, 53.1 square foot. Total proposed sign area, 321.43 square feet. So this sign would,
Which is fine. It's just, I'm just looking at it for the first time, so,
yeah, I think the planning department overlooked the, you know, the sign when they were reviewing the application. I think that's why that comment was made, but it clearly was part of the application.
Joe, I think I would like this to go to committee. I would just like, now that I know what it's going to look like, I just would like to touch base with Tom Quinn on it. And I am concerned that there's only one bathroom, but maybe it's not necessary.
I think, yeah, it was part, you know, even though it was showing that on the floor plan, once they file building permit applications, plumbing applications, if that's not adequate, you know, they'll have to comply with the plumbing code.
Yeah, yeah. I would like this to go to committee, just so that we can just look at it, so that I can
Sure.
look at it better. Thank you.
In form of a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we send this to special permits.
Before that,
Up.
Councilor DeMambro?
President Dillon, could I call up Commissioner Quinn,
Make a
who's sitting
motion.
in the audience, please?
Make a motion to suspend the rules to allow Inspector
You don't have to suspend the rules, the public hearing's still open.
Oh, my apology. I'll withdraw.
Can I make that
Commissioner
motion?
Quinn?
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to see you,
Hello,
sir.
welcome.
Good evening. I was here for another
Evening.
matter, but I'm hoping to save some time on this. Tom Quinn, Building Commissioner, City of Woburn. With regard to the plumbing issue there, compliance will have to be met with 248 CMR Section 1010, which is under the authority of the plumbing inspector. So at time of plan review, we will make sure that adequate sanitary facilities are there for the occupant load.
Okay, okay, so
With
you feel
regard-
comfortable with this particular?
Yeah, I mean, because this is within the gym setting, and we've already reviewed the plans for the physical fitness facility, and there are ample bathrooms in there. I think the capacity for that could be well over 300 people.
Okay,
Okay,
all right,
so
good.
We do review that, so just to save you some concern, if that would help. And regarding the sign, I have reviewed the sign originally, and that's kind of where this whole thing came to fruition. When I was doing the sign package for Best Fitness, I saw this sign, and I had to question exactly what it was. I think the sign may have been about maybe 55 square feet in one of the windows.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, that was the one that I had seen. There is capacity there for the sign to be allowed. However, I will leave that to the council based on the nonconformities of the shopping center.
okay,
All right, so
okay.
hopefully that helps a little
It
bit.
does, thank you so much.
Thank
No
you,
problem.
Commissioner Quinn.
Thank
Thank you, Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor DeMambro, for seeing him there. I withdraw my motion, and I make a motion to approve the petition before us.
You should close.
Close the public
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't close, but
I'll make a motion to close the
Yeah,
public hearing.
second.
Second.
A motion and a second to close
Thank you.
public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Make
I
a
may
motion
should-
that the
oh, go
special
ahead.
permit be granted
Yeah,
with
Second.
the 3 conditions and the 1 finding that
that's
were
what I was just
proposed by
thinking, to look
Attorney
at the
Tarver.
conditions. Okay, thank you.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye,
Any opposed? That passes.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, good luck.
Yep, good luck.
Next item on the agenda is Woburn Planning Board to amend the Woburn zoning ordinance to allow murals citywide in non-residential zoning districts by adding the definition of murals in Section 2, revise the definition of sign in Section 2 to distinguish between signs and murals, 3, revise Section 5.1 by inserting a new line 78A, and 4, to revise notes to 5.1 table of use regulations by adding a new note 28. I just want to make note that the Planning Board did continue the public hearing until its next meeting.
Thank you for that clarification. How are you
want this
tonight,
one?
Casey?
Good evening, everyone. Just give me 1 second while I power this up.
It's a lot of cords, Casey.
I think it's going into this. They get them when they get funded. Everybody's. Yeah.
Did you hear that high pitch ring?
I didn't want to take the last one.
That's you? With the microphone? Jesus Christ.
Hey, what are you doing?
You get it in the door.
Okay, perfect.
Came to us. Understand?
Okay, looks like we're up and running. So good evening, everyone. My name is Casey Haggerty. I'm the Economic Development Manager for the City of Woburn. I'm here in front of you to present a proposed zoning amendment that has been sponsored by the Woburn Planning Board and has been endorsed by the Woburn Redevelopment Authority. So why murals? The Woburn Redevelopment Authority identified about a year ago creating a mural program as a main priority for their 2023 goal moving into 2024. Additionally, in 2021, the local rapid recovery plan, which was a COVID-funded state program, highlighted the significance of implementing a mural program for a means of expressing artistic expression and a means of economic revitalization. There's also been growing interest from property owners and arts groups around the city. So essentially today, the current interpretation of the Woburn zoning ordinance is that all murals are signs regardless of their content, and thus must follow sign regulations. That's really limiting for murals which tend to exceed the allowable size for a sign. So we're here to make propose four zoning changes that would allow for murals within the Woburn zoning ordinance. The first is to create a definition of mural. Read it out loud for you. Right here. So a mural, as we are defining it, is a non-commercial picture or decoration, typically painted, which is for artistic, cultural, or societal purposes only, included but not limited to painting, fresco, or mosaic. A mural shall be considered a sign if its content is related by language, logo, or pictorial depiction to the advertisement or any product or service offered at or the identification of any business located on the premises where the mural is located. A mural shall be steady and stationary with no moving or movable parts, flashing, animated, or intermittent illumination. The second proposed change is to alter the definition of sign as it exists in the current zoning ordinance. We would do this by adding a sentence to the end of the definition of sign that adds, "This definition does not regulate murals." The third change would be to add a line to the use table, the table of use regulations. That would be line 78A. Currently, it shows not allowed in any of the residential districts and allowed in all of the commercial zoning districts. The fourth change would be to add a note, note 28, which would allow a provision for a requirement for a building permit if a mural wasn't painted on the wall. If it were affixed in any way, a building permit would be required for the connection detail. It also gives the building commissioner the authority to repair or to order the repair or removal of any mural that's found in disrepair. So, why murals? Murals are a way of transforming dull and vacant spaces into vibrant, visually appealing areas. They reflect the culture, values, and traditions of a community. It's also found that there's often a reduction in crime in areas where murals are installed. It creates a sense of community and pride, and you often see, some areas that need a little bit of TLC or repaired and given a little more attention. It's also a significant investment in a community. The cost of the mural vary based on, material size. There's a variety of factors, but generally they're a very significant investment for a property owner. And because of that, the content and placement tend to be professional and tasteful. So, we're thinking about locations for murals within the city. The downtown business district is an obvious candidate. The WRA has long identified the desire to paint murals on the Pocket Park walls downtown. They're both privately owned, but we will work with the community, with the property owners to paint a mural, if they allow it. So the Pocket Park's an obvious contender. You also have other locations downtown. In the upper left, we have the side of Studio Cafe along that driveway. The side of the Roma's building would make a good candidate for a mural. We have the side of Ixtapa, and then that is the side of the mobile station downtown as it faces the library. But there are other zoning districts within the community that also would benefit from murals. This is 675 Main Street in the BN zoning district. This is, now it's the Criswell Medical Spa. They actually started to paint a mural, but had to be shut down because they currently aren't allowed. This is up on New Boston Street and within the IP zoning district. You kind of have this blank white wall that might make a good wall for a mural as well. This is in the BN zoning district. This is the back of the Montville Mart that faces the bike path. This is 287 Montville Ave. Could be an interesting and eye-catching wall as commuters use that path and draw people into the business district. Otherwise, they may not know that's there. This is down in the IG zoning district at Lord Hobo, another blank wall that may, potentially be a good location. Up in North Woburn, this is the side of Flip the Bird within the BH zoning district, another, blank empty wall that's just kind of asking for some attention. And then here we are in the BN zoning district at the corner of Main Street and Green Street, another kind of prominent wall that right now isn't really adding anything to the building. You know, there are some existing murals within Woburn. This is 1042 Main Street up in North Woburn. This, I think it's their pump house, was permitted through a 40B development. So the ZBA granted this permit that allowed for a mural down there, or up there, I guess. This is a pre-existing mural on the corner of Peppercorn House, just right on the corner on Church Street, little eye-catching design. And then this is up at the Woburn Village, 300 Wishmum Road, which was permitted through a 40R zoning district. But we have a pretty prominent mural there up by TJ Maxx and Home Goods. And just to give you an idea, you know, you might have a preconceived, idea of what a mural is, but there's so many different creative aspects out there. On the left, we have a bike painted onto the wall with a flower basket attached and flowers growing out of it. And then on the right, we have a little cute dog popping out. It's on a overpass, which is not something that's within this ordinance, but just to give you an idea of what kind of creative ideas are out there. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions from the council? Councilor Viola.
Thank you, Mr. President. Casey, thank you all the time that you've put into this so far. I appreciate it. I've received a lot of calls from residents regarding this possible mural program. And most of the residents are concerned that due to the First Amendment, we're not going to be able to police what's actually being put on the buildings, in which I tend to agree with them with that. I foresee a lot of issues going forward with this. Just like there's no buffer zone between the residential and businesses or whatever else. If somebody's house is here and the zoning changes right next door, they could possibly be looking out of their bedroom window or any window in their house at something that they wouldn't want to be looking at. But I'll keep an open mind with this as we go forward, but thank you.
Council Papalato.
Yeah. And you've done a great job with that, and you've opened my eyes up to things. So the feedback that I get is, why no regulations? And I saw one of those slides you kind of flew through there. It talked about not wanting anything to be regulated. Is there a reason behind that, or is there any wiggle room there, or what's your thought there?
My understanding with talking with, both the former and current city solicitor is that the city is very limited in how you can regulate content. You can regulate time, manner, and place. But beyond that, you really start to infringe on First Amendment rights, freedom of expression. So that's why, we can, even when you allow a sign, you can't really regulate color, font, logo, that type of thing. You can only regulate, the location of the sign, the size of the sign, lighting, that sort of thing. But once it opens it up to, you really start to run into First Amendment issues when you start to regulate content.
Because the feedback I'm getting is around, we don't want it to turn into something that is ugly, or it doesn't depict Woburn in a positive light. So but from the way that you've displayed them up there, they're pretty cool, and there's a lot of positive things there. But that's the one drawback that I've heard repeatedly.
Yeah, I will say I reached out to the Mass Planners Group and heard back from about 30 communities within the state that have murals all around their communities, and no one expressed any issues or concerns with distasteful or, questionable content. They all had positive experiences in their communities.
Okay.
And I should just add, I'm sorry, the planning board opened their public hearing last week, and they are continuing it. We heard comments and concerns that they have and are working to, taking them under advisement, and we'll be working on a set of amendments that we'll be bringing to their continued public hearing next week.
Okay,
Councilor Tamandra.
Hi, Casey.
Hi.
Nice presentation. I love the dog one.
Cute.
My concern with this concept is the maintenance of it. I fear that we have little rascals out there that may want to tag it or spray paint over it, deface it in some sort of way, whether it with paint or throwing some sort of a beverage at it that stains it or defaces it in some way, shape, or form. And that's my main concern. I do understand that the content is also an important factor of this, but maintaining it and knowing that our resources, especially at the DPW, are stretched beyond belief. Who would maintain this? And, you know, would it be the property owner that owns the building? Would it be the city? When these go up, who would maintain it if in case there was a problem with some sort of defacing?
So if it were a mural on private property, that would be up to the property owner to maintain. If it were a mural on city property or a mural that was funded with city funding, you know, if the Cultural Council or WRA wanted to fund a mural somewhere, then the city would be responsible for the maintenance of the mural.
So they would have to bring in a private, the artist or whoever, to touch that up. 'Cause
Right. I mean, I've heard colloquially, I don't have data on this, but there tends to be this level of respect amongst artists. You don't necessarily see people tagging or defacing other artists' work. Apparently, in the artist community, there's a level of respect. You know, maybe kids don't buy into that as much, but I've heard that there hasn't been as much concern about defacing as one might assume there would be.
I mean, I was in a bathroom the other day that was in a very nice restaurant, and someone carved into the tile some sort of a tag. So, you know, I see it. I've seen it up in North Woburn. I know every single building that you put up there. And it could lead to that type of a situation. And my concern is I don't want to see, up in especially my wood, some sort of a tag or something that's going to just upset people.
Yeah. And I would hope the property owner wouldn't want to see that either and would
Correct.
help take care of it.
Thank you.
Councilor Campbell?
Hi, Casey. Well, I don't want to be the one to be the naysayer here, but I'm completely against it, just so you know. I'm an artist myself, so I do appreciate the people that actually are drawing and doing all of that. I find it extremely busy when you have it on buildings. And if you could get past that and you even had a nice design, that would be nice. But it's not regulated. And even though these other communities so far have not put anything distasteful up, what's considered distasteful? It changes from one person to another what someone would consider distasteful. So because you can't regulate it, for me, it has to be a no, because at this point, I love the look of Woburn. That little pocket park where you have that little metal Woburn, I love that. I love the color on whoever picked the color originally, looks great. And the little metal Woburn that was created, I think looks fabulous. And it's perfect, just like that. You don't need to paint anything on the wall. Because at least this is my feeling, because once you start doing it, people will, might be trying it out in all different places, and now you have I'm going to talk in artist terms, but this canvas that all of a sudden is no longer peaceful, but is now really busy because you're going to have all different subjects being painted on the different walls. And I just don't want Woburn to look like that. So I can't support it, and yeah, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to support it.
Okay.
Councilor Ferrullo?
Just back to the restrictions that are allowed, is that there's 5 limited carve-outs that can be prohibited as far as speech goes that cover egregious language. Obscenity, child pornography, defamatory speech, false advertising, then truth threats and fighting words would be things that we could act on. And that's a Supreme Court ruling that those are the categories that you could fit it in, to protect the canvas. That's part one. Different topic. Casey talked about artists respecting each other. There's a location in Woburn, which I'll just leave off the table for now, where it's known, regionally known, not just Massachusetts known, graffiti artist canvas. And the respect that's shown at that location, and it's long, it's about 50 yards long, and it's hundreds of feet of artist space. that they respect what they do, and it's tremendous, the work, and I think we may hear from somebody later on tonight about the location and the art there, but there's an artist code of conduct to respect each other's work, and when somebody damages work, it was a real issue, but that is a legitimate thing. That was an afterthought to my original research that I did while I was sitting here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Councilor Boone.
Thank you so much, Casey. Thank you for your work on this. I'm conflicted for sure. If we had to vote on it tonight, I'm a hard no. Mostly because I think there's some things we still need to do. I know that the planning board has had a public meeting, but I can tell you, if I picked up the phone right now and called anybody in a business neighborhood, whether it be in Ward 5 or Ward 6, most people probably don't know this could be coming to their backyard. And it's very, very important that those people are aware. So number one, until we do more community outreach, if we're going to keep business neighborhood in this, I'm a solid no. I'd like to not be a no. I'd like to get more people involved in this decision. I see why downtown Woburn might be a nice place to start if that's what the business community wants in downtown Woburn, in collaboration with the neighbors who also live there. But this is much, much too broad right now for me to support it. So those are my comments for now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Demirs.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think Councilor Mercer Bruin said a great word about this is conflict. You know, I'm all for fostering artistic growth in the community and advancing the culture of the community by allowing folks who are, you know, giving them opportunities to express themselves in different ways. But I think we kind of open Pandora's box when we open this up, because while it would be great for the art and culture of the community, it really restricts what we can approve or not be approval of. And my only concern majorly over this is I always try to play devil's advocate on issues like this that, you know, could basically be 50-50 before the council. And, you know, I've seen, like, an example I'll use is this, for the past few summers, I've seen this one street up at Hampton Beach where one guy on one side of the street has his whole house decked out with Donald Trump stuff. The guy on the other side of the street has his house decked out with all Joe Biden stuff. And it's basically trying to cause conflict by being a battle between two neighbors. And I'm concerned that could flare up in a community that normally, you know, you wouldn't see that type of outward type of divisiveness or conflict. And a lot of art is done with a particular message in mind. And what concerns me is that, you know, changing our ordinances to allow people to be expressive is one thing, but changing it so that, you know, on every mural there may be a message that most of us here probably don't want to see portrayed, that fall outside of the restrictions that are allowed under the First Amendment. So right now I'm conflicted on this. Two other things that I wanted to ask you, Casey, were on the Cultural Council. So any type of grant from the Cultural Council, would that have to be for public grounds, or would that be a grant that was eligible for, say, a business to be able to apply for access and put a mural on a private property?
I'd have to double check, but my understanding is private groups can apply for cultural council grants as well.
Okay, so if that is state money, wouldn't there be an inherent ability for the government to regulate what goes on if that money is being
Yeah, so
granted?
murals that are funded through the cultural council would be, you know, they'd have oversight over content.
Because I think that's kind of how we can come to some sort of compromise, I think, moving forward. The other thing is, you mentioned how murals could be positive for areas that are in need of repair or somewhat blighted. has there been any consideration of also looking at maybe a community development block grant application that would allow for funds to be used and then allow us to regulate murals in a way that the content would be more, I guess, neutral?
No, we haven't looked into that, but I'm happy to do some research.
Yeah, that'd be great, because I think that affords us another way of being able to regulate where state funds that we receive are being distributed in the community, and would allow us to limit the size, scope, and the content in a way that, you know, keeps it tasteful, preserves the character of Woburn, and kind of prevents what could occur by just giving carte blanche to folks that want to be designing or painting these murals. So I think those are just some food for thought as we move forward with this debate. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're quite welcome. Yes, Councilor Viola.
One more thing, thank you, Mr. President. One other thing I'd like to bring up too is, on the Tri-Community Bike Path, I believe it's Stoneham, there was a controversial topic that was painted on there a couple years ago that it made national news. There was a mural there, and it kept getting defaced, and then they'd repaint it, and then it would get defaced again. But I just want to bring that to the council's attention if you wanted to look into that as well. So, thank you.
Any other questions from the council?
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
A motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please step forward.
Casey, do you want to just, Casey,
Please
do you want
state
to
your name and address, sir.
want to maybe just move your computer to the side? I'm sorry.
Good.
Sorry.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing, Chief?
If
My
you
name's
could, speak
Stephen.
right into that microphone.
This one?
Or
That's
that one,
fine.
whatever's easier.
My name's Stephen Flynn. I live at 34 Sylvanus Wood Lane. Woburn resident of 25 years. As far as this mural thing goes, I'd like to ask my counselor, Viola, Charles Viola. You just mentioned something about something got defaced, and then what was that? I don't know. What you said it made national news. I don't know anything about that. I'm a little curious.
It's about 3 or 4 years ago, but there was a topic that something happened was national news that it made attention, and then it was
Would you be willing to
painted.
be specific? I'd like to know what it was.
You can talk until the light.
I could speak to you afterwards if you'd like.
Okay. As far as the mural thing, I didn't even know this was gonna come up tonight. This is the first council meeting I've ever been to. I'm thinking about perhaps getting into politics someday, and I figure this is a little icebreaker. But the mural thing, let's just say that like 10,000 Woburn residents decided to revolt because they didn't like something somewhere, and everybody put a mural in the front of their house. I mean, just as all of you guys were saying, this could really spiral out of control. It's, it wouldn't be a good thing. I mean, let's just be honest here. I mean, Woburn would start to look like Tijuana. It just, nobody would even want to live here anymore. I mean, let's just say I, for example, put a big mural in the front of my house that said, the Israeli Mossad did 9/11 and framed a bunch of Arabs. I mean, who would want to look at that every day? I mean, even though it's true, who would want to look at it every day? And then let's just say everybody in Woburn did that. That would probably make national news. So, something to think about. I think the mural thing's a very bad idea. So that's my 2 cents. And we'll talk afterwards, and you'll tell me what that thing... How come you don't want to say it out in public? Well, I'm curious to know what it
Talk
is.
to you after.
We have free speech in this country. You can say it.
Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak in this matter, please step forward. How are you, Mr. Pandolf?
Very good, sir. Thank you very much, council members, to give me the opportunity to speak in front of you regarding the mural issue.
Mr. Pandolf, can you please identify yourself for the record, please? Can you state your name and address for the record?
Michael Pandolf, 6 Wood Street,
Thank you.
Woburn. I'm here to speak against the murals being allowed within the city. My reasons are several. First, I believe that if the murals are being allowed, it will promote more graffiti within the city. I have pictures here. I've retired 10 years ago from the Woburn Police Department, and at that time, we had a major issue with a graffiti crew that came into the city.
Motion to accept the documents, make them part of the
Second.
permanent record.
The motion and the second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
This crew came in, there was 3 individuals that tagged a large part of the city. And when you see these pictures, there's over 140 instances of graffiti tags that I personally took throughout the whole city. Just one crew, as you, when you see these pictures, you'll be able to recognize the areas where they tagged. And they really did quite a bit of damage within this city. And luckily, through a lot of work and legwork with other communities, because they weren't just in Woburn, we were able to apprehend the leader of this graffiti crew. And subsequently, he ended up going to jail because of the extent of his tagging, not only in Woburn, excuse me, but within the surrounding communities. On some of these pictures, you'll see on his graffiti, he'll have C.126, and that's the penal code for graffiti tagging. They're very good. They're well aware of the law. But I feel that if we allow murals, that's just going to promote these graffiti vandals from feeling empowered to come and tag various locations within the city. My other concern is, how will the council or the city govern what is going to be put on these murals? What you put on a mural might be okay for you, but it might be very offensive to me. I saw on the news this morning in Newton, there was pictures of the hostages in Gaza, and someone came and tagged all those pictures with graffiti. So I feel that, I think it will be detrimental to the city. Yes, I mean, some of them are beautiful. Some of the works that these kids do are very, very sophisticated. But just driving around Woburn recently, I mean, I saw in the previous presentation on Draper Street. Well, if you go down into the Calvary Cemetery and look on those buildings behind Draper Street, you'll see all those buildings have been vandalized and tagged. Also, I saw a tag last week on the side of Nana Bet's ice cream parlor. So I just feel that the city should go very cautiously in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Detective Pandolf.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else who would like to speak on this matter, please come forward.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the City Council. My name is Rosa DiTucci, and I live at 82 Arlington Road, Woburn, Mass. And I had the pleasure of attending the planning board meeting last week when this issue was first discussed. And like many of you, I was hesitant. And I can tell you that after listening to the presentation, I became vehemently opposed to this proposal. And I have a number of reasons, but it really boils down to control. This council, and I mean the council in general, and the councils that came before and before them, spent a lot of time and thought and effort into deciding what this city was going to be, its character, its look. I mean, every time you approve a special permit, you're thinking about all of those things. What this zoning ordinance does is literally take away control of every bit of what this city is going to look like and hands it to other people. You will have no control. You can't. First Amendment precludes you from deciding what is appropriate, what is offensive, other than those very slim items set forth by the Supreme Court. One of the issues, another issue that I have, is that our city is very historic. It's not on the National Historic Database, or we don't, like Lexington, have historic districts. But many of our buildings in downtown and around the city are historic. You are now allowing people to come in and paint over that beautiful brick, deface the brickwork, the architecture. And paint is forever in this case. If you paint over brick, you're never going to get that off. How does someone fix a mural that has been defaced or that is now in poor repair? What would you do? I'd take a can of paint, I'd just paint over it. I'm not going to repaint an expensive mural. Think about that. Think about what that means to our city, to our downtown, to any of the areas, the commercial areas up in your ward, Alderman Mercer Berwin. It's not going to be attractive. And one of the things that I'm really concerned about is that a lot of the examples that were shown tonight were so pretty. They were just lovely. You know, you had the pretty bicycle, you had the flowers, you had, gorgeous, pretty items. What I'd like to do is show you, just from a brief search of the internet today, some of the things that you might see in Woburn, that people are now seeing in Lynn, in Boston, in surrounding communities. In Arizona, for instance, some of these things that are showing up, some may be considered beautiful, but others may consider them to be very inappropriate. So if it's okay, may I?
Motion to accept that as part of the permit.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I apologize for the quality. I don't have photographs, and I don't have enough for everybody, but
That's fine.
I'll have to
Thank
share.
you.
Thank you. I'm sorry? I don't have them on tape. I don't have them on CD. So I'm not going to go through all of those,
Oh,
but
just
take a
wait
look at
until-
those as you,
just-
What?
So she can take the notes. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I apologize, Lindsay.
It's okay.
So, well, there's a certain, excuse me. No, not all right. It's all right. One of the things I would like to say is my neighbor called me this evening. She couldn't be here. She is, as she calls herself, a refugee from New York City. And she did come to the planning board meeting, and she was very, very eloquent. She lived with these murals literally across from her home. And every day she had to look at this thing that she considered highly offensive, that attracted taggers, people who write their graffiti and their tags. She had nowhere to go. She couldn't avoid it. She left the city precisely because of that sort of thing. And she came to Woburn and she said, please, this evening, when you're in front of council, tell them, please, don't make me regret coming here. And this is real. People have real opinions about murals. Some call them graffiti. This may not be the place for it. I don't believe it's the place for it. I don't believe that this council would, could, or should cede responsibility, its responsibility, for what this city ultimately is and what the experience is for its residents. So I am asking, with all due respect, to please not allow this ordinance to pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward? How are
Hi.
you, Samantha?
Just to be clear, I'm representing myself as a resident, Samantha Stone, 62 Kilby Street. I'm not here on behalf of my job. But I'll tell you that it's been a really interesting listening to this conversation. And I think there's a couple of things that are worth us thinking about when we consider this. I actually believe murals can add a lot of value to our community. I think we are projecting fears that other communities have not seen. I think offensive things can be on signs just as they can be on murals, and we haven't seen and experienced that. The other thing I think we have to remember is this is for a business district. We're not talking about doing this on residences. It's not like every home in Woburn is going to be able to, but that's not what this ordinance is. And sir, you had your opportunity, please let me have my
Excuse me.
It's not a debate.
So I think we just have to remember the scale of what we're talking about here. We're talking about businesses specifically, and businesses have an incentive to do things that add value and draw their customers in. We've seen many cities in Massachusetts, our neighbors, who have not experienced the kinds of problems that we're projecting we might experience. And I think there are creative ways to make sure that certainly any city dollars, we have a lot more say in how those funds are used. So I would just encourage us to think about the reality of what we're seeing and not try and project too much of what could badly happen, because we have lots of communities to learn from and lots of places that have done this before us, and we have a chance to experience some of the positives, right? Murals can be a place where people become an attraction and actually bring people into the community, and many of us have traveled and seen that in many places around us. So I would just consider us to think about this is actually pretty small scale. This isn't talking about all of Woburn doing this. These are expensive to do. It's not like we're going to see a mural on every wall in every business across all of Woburn, and I hope we are open-minded enough to think about the potential positives of doing something like this.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to come forward? How are you tonight?
Good, how are you? Sorry, I've been to the bike meeting. I came back and I went to the bike meeting. I'm Sasha Hernandez from 13 Bennett Street. I just wanted to say I am very in favor of murals. My husband and I were just in Nashua, New Hampshire recently, and they actually had a mural walk, and we did the mural walk. It was awesome. We got to have a new perspective on Nashua, New Hampshire. We got to see some parts of it we aren't used to seeing. When we're in Montreal, we're really excited. There's this massive mural of Leonard Cohen. Thank you. I'm blanking a little bit up here. Whenever we go to Lynn, we always love going to see the different murals, because Lynn has tons of murals. Some are massive, some are tiny. And Lynn isn't really a city I'd usually explore, but when we go there, the murals give an excuse.
Just do me a favor, speak so the audience in at home can hear you. Thank you.
And when we're in Lynn, the murals give us an excuse to go to different parts that we wouldn't normally go to. And even in Salem, I love going to see the murals. And I work in Central Square in Cambridge, and there are murals everywhere. And I can tell you, Central Square is sort of a rough place. I've seen some bad things there. No one has ever touched the murals. Everyone respects art. People love art. When people are going to tag something or destroy something, they don't go for the art. They go for the empty spaces. I will also say, talking about the historic nature of Woburn, painting ads on the sides of buildings is actually a very traditional historical practice, and a lot of people, including my father-in-law, actually go around cities looking for the old painted ads on buildings. So it's actually not ahistoric at all. I also want to emphasize, sorry, nervous.
You're doing great.
I also want to emphasize that, again, these will be businesses paying for this. And businesses aren't going to pay for something that's ugly. I mean, businesses have very fine profit margins. They're not going to expend their money on something that isn't beautiful or that won't beautify our city. And I mentioned this to my boss, the idea of murals in cities, and he was actually really excited. He was like, oh, Woburn's going to start having a mural program. I would love to volunteer, because he's an artist. And I was like, no, I mean, we're debating it. And he was like, oh, that's too bad. Because he's really excited because Concord is starting one of these programs, and he's going to try to participate. So just something to contribute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to talk in this matter, please step forward. How are you, Commissioner Quinn?
Good, Council President Dillon. Thomas C. Quinn, Building Commissioner, City of Woburn. A lot of opinions tonight on this topic. You know, the Economic Development Manager, Casey Haggerty, former solicitor, Ellen Callahan-Doucette, and former planner, Tina Cassidy, and myself. We've been working on this for almost close to a year now since the topic started. You know, one of the concerns I have as the building commissioner is if we go city, in all districts right now other than residential. I think in my view of 57 years being in the city of Woburn and as a 37-year employee of the city of Woburn, one of the treasures is the area of Main Street between Hammond Square and Central Square, which is the S1 zoning district. That is a mixed-use zoning district which entails offices and residential. So we have to really look hard at that district if it's going to be included in this proposal. I think based on the report that was commissioned by the city in 2021 from Gorman and New York, it focused on the downtown area. You know, from my own view and educating myself at home, because I have a daughter who has a master's in art and does very well with this, she educated me on this, and she said, art is in the eye of the beholder. It's subjective to everyone. We all may not agree. We may not all disagree. And I think that's evident tonight. So if this moves forward, again, working on this, I will continue to work on this with the Economic Development Director because I think she's done yeoman's work on this. But it needs really some serious consideration. You know, we look at the business neighborhoods, the Coles area, the Washington Street corridor, in proximity to residential zoning districts. We look at Mishawam Road at Olympia Ave, which is a mixed zoning district. We look at Cambridge Road by St. Barbara's Church, mixed district, business highway. North Woburn by the former Engine 2, business highway zoning district with residential across the street. Buffer zones, it's imperative. One area of concern that most of us may not know is Lynn Street in East Woburn. 5 houses on the street in a residential zone, right up next to 93 with huge commercial facilities next to it, which is Admiral Metals and a few other industries in there. They're close. I mean, I think it's a good project, but is distance a proper buffer? I mean, one of the other concerns I would have is you take some of these spot zoning areas up in the sticks of North Woburn, Ashburton Ave. We have an office park district up there that goes out through North Maple and not through the adjoining residential district. That's from myself to Councilor Dillon away. So again, not to be repetitive, I think it's a great project. I think it's great discussion. But in my own view, as a resident this time, I think if we go broad-based, we really have to consider what is going to occur in the S1 zoning district, in the S2 zoning district. The Vale in East Woburn in the overlay district. We already have a beautiful art colony over there underneath 93 that Mass DOT regulates. I walk there every day, I enjoy it. However, it has been defaced over the years and it has created problems. I'm gonna go back 4 years ago, there was national news about some defacement over there and it was tough. Artists do protect each other's rights, as I've learned talking to the graffiti artists over there. However, again, it's opinions. It's opinions. I think the city in a whole is really progressed, in my own view, again, being here 57 years, and we just have to proceed with caution with this in its entirety. You know, and I am, you know, on the record, I am in favor of doing something because I think it is needed. But how far do we go with it at the beginning? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. How are you tonight?
Doing all right, how are you? Yes, this is Christopher Sylvia, 13 Bennett Street, and just want to thank Casey Haggerty for preparing the presentation and thank the City Council for considering it. I do want to speak in favor of murals. I think that there is a lot they could offer to us. Obviously, some people have some concerns, and I hope that the city council can come to some kind of compromise and get some murals put in somewhere, maybe just in business downtown or something like that. I do think the property owners will regulate themselves to the most part, but I do want to say I am very proud American, and I think that one of the best things about America is the First Amendment. And, you know, I think that that's our strength, not our weakness, and I think we really should trust in ourselves, because that is what this country is all about. Business murals, you know, make me decide where to go, where to shop. Beautiful neighborhood, I will go to Roma's. You know, if it's not necessarily as beautiful, maybe I will go to, you know, Stop and Shop in Winchester. So that directly affects the decisions and the business impacts of this town. But I think that, you know, we should support it, and if we have to make a compromise, we could do that. But I want us to do something. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Take one more.
Yes, sir. How are you, Mr. Cashel?
John Cashel, newly appointed planning director. Last week, I gave a presentation to the planning board. It was at the end of the meeting. It was more of an introduction or reintroduction to the planning board. And part of my presentation ended up turning to this particular subject matter. Personally, I'm an admirer of good art and good, tasteful murals, but I did say some stuff that's pretty naive, I think, when I think back of last week when I did address the planning board on this subject. I did read a lengthy article today, and I think a lot of people are familiar with it. It was written in 2017, and the title of it is Understanding the First Amendment, Limitations on Government Regulation of Artwork. It's a really good, well-written article on this whole subject matter. And, you know, one thing I can take away from the planning board's public hearing last week and this public hearing, I mean, there's a lot of opinions about this and a lot of fear. Even though I do like, personally, murals, I detest greatly graffiti. Whether it's good graffiti or not, it's unregulated, it's unlawful, it wreaks havoc on communities. And you know what now? After we've seen it all for the last 40 years. I don't know how long it's been going on. It's just part of the landscape, and you know, it's just like, how do they get away with it? But they get away with it everywhere, and it is everywhere. And you know, Michael Pandolf pointed out, you know, the trouble that posed on this city not that long ago, and it was terrible to have to deal with that issue. And luckily, the police department was able to get that under control, and we haven't had that problem since. But, you know, I just want to read something at the end, and I'll be quiet. I don't want to get into a long dissertation on this, but it's something that we really do need to continue the dialogue and, you know, inform ourselves of this whole issue, especially with the First Amendment and how much it's protected. I think it's really protected for some groups of people more than others in this country. It's you know, it's an unequal justice system, as we do know. In this particular case of First Amendment, what you might like, I might have a real problem with, and that was brought up earlier. But the conclusion of this lengthy article, I just want to read this part of it real quick and try to get the main gist of what I'm saying to people, get people thinking about it. This article's review of artwork through a First Amendment lens occurs on the frontier of constitutional jurisprudence. Yet, as First Amendment protections expand, we may be witnessing an expansion of First Amendment applicability that may sweep up previously unchecked governmental controls on artwork and architecture. In effect, local governments are therefore advised to carefully consider how their zoning codes and other regulations affect the ability of artists and architects to speak through their work and to ensure that local efforts to make regulations content neutral and otherwise consistent with the First Amendment preserve free speech rights of all speakers. So even though I like murals and I do love art, all kinds of art, you know, the can of worms here, and everything that's been done to this point, I think it was just been an intention, a good intention. Try to, you know, improve the visual aspects of our downtown. And it did spread to other parts of the town. And I think it's all part of good intentions of everyone. And, you know, that nothing could possibly go wrong with this, right? But not so right. You know, so what I'm saying is we really have to be very careful with this. I think more dialogue, more debate, more review, and, you know, everybody have a real well-informed opinion of this thing before the city steps into it. Because once you do step into it, it's impossible to get out of it. So, you know, to visit other communities and see the visual improvements that are brought forward by communities that have experienced this, you know, but just to get, I think we really need to get more informed. The planning board, that's what I would advise them now that I've had time to think about this and read about it. And I think we all do, if we want to do the right thing and have a really good chance at doing it, doing the right thing and improving the visual aesthetics of the community. So, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else like to speak on this matter, come forward.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing to the regular meeting on April 19th, and that the matter be referred to the Committee on Special Permits.
Ordinance, charters, and rules.
Sorry.
Ordinance, charters, and rules.
I'm sorry, Ordinance, Charter, and Rules.
Second.
Is a motion and a second, all in favor?
On the motion?
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify one small thing that we did hear earlier tonight, that this did not have an impact on residents, that this was about business areas. That is absolutely untrue because of the business neighborhood aspect of it, which is sweeping across this city. How many areas we have that are business neighborhood. And what is very, very concerning to me is how much or how little communication has happened about this particular effort. So I just want to urge again that maybe we can find a compromise, but there is so much more work to be done here. Thank you.
Mr. President, on the motion.
Yes.
I just had a clarification. What date did you?
The 19th.
Thank you. Thank you.
If I could briefly, Casey, this is one of the first times you've been before us. I urge you not to lose your enthusiasm. You've driven us places we've never been before, and don't let tonight with our ups and downs take the wind out of your sails. We'll work to the compromise, and whether we win or lose, there's another fight to fight, and your enthusiasm brought to the city is appreciated. And for that, I just want to say thank you, and walk out of here with your head high, and the bumps in the road, we'll get through them. But thank you for bringing this before us, and we'll work hard to get to where you want to be.
Yep, thank you, Casey. And
Thank you, Councilor Fool.
this is par for the course down here, so we will find a way to compromise, but we've got a ways to go. Thank you.
Anyone else? And
It
you
was
made
a
a
motion.
motion and it was second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is Councilors DeMambro and Council Mercer Bruin's petition to amend the Woburn zoning ordinance by repealing Section 10 cluster developments in entirety and marking Section 10 as reserved for future use. A communication dated February 28th, 2024 was received from Tina Cassidy, Planning Director, with the recommendation of the Planning Board, and those are the communications.
Make a motion that communication be received, made part of the permanent record.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Make a motion to open the public
Do you
hearing.
want, I don't know if the petitioners want to speak?
I'll withdraw.
Yes, Councilor Poole.
So, Councilor DeMambro and I took a look at this and presented to the planning board a couple of weeks ago. One of the biggest concerns was, for me, was this notion of corporations getting involved in purchasing. As some of you know, the cluster development requires that you have 5 acres of property. And what we've been seeing is large corporations coming in and quietly purchasing single-family homes, trying to get to this requirement, which touts the opportunity for open space and beautiful scenery and so on and so forth, which I'm going to turn it over now to Councilor DeMambro, and he can tell you that that's exactly not what's happening with this ordinance, and it's almost 40 years old. It was probably very good for the one development that was created by it, but now we see the potential for misuse. And it took a bit of back and forth with the planning board, but ultimately they agreed with us. So if I may.
Councilor DeMambro?
Thank you. When you look at this ordinance, it hasn't been, as my colleague has clearly stated, it hasn't been used since 1985. There was an amendment done somewhere in 1987 on it. Other than that, it hasn't been touched. We only know of one development in the city that has used this ordinance. And again, it's all a part of obtaining 5 acres of land and how you go about that, especially now when land is a scarce commodity in this city, as we all well know. They're buying bits and pieces. The developers will buy bits and pieces in small parcels and put it all together and put a 5-acre lot together. And then what they do is they downsize the lot sizes to maximize the capacity for the structures to be put on this property. And what we're finding is, you take a 12,000, normally an R1 that requires a 12,000 square foot lot size, they bring it down to a 10,000. And then they bring a 15,000 down to a 12 so that they can fit 2s, 3, and 4 family homes. It's been my experience in my short time on the council, and I'm sure it's been many of my colleagues' experience, that when it comes to these projects, the developers come in and maybe state, okay, one unit, and maybe the rest of them are 3 and 4s. Now, when I talk about my ward, the environment up there is already quite congested, and we know that there's very, very little land left up in North Woburn. My fear is that R2s all of a sudden start turning into R3s and R4s with this, and I know a lot of people try to base, the reasoning on this is, a 30%, in open space that'll be granted when you do something like this. But what they're not telling you is that 30% is unusable land. It's either, land that's all ledge or it's wetlands. It's not areas that are open space so that children can play or people can walk their dog. This is unusable land, but this is a little skirt that they do, a little smoke and mirrors that says, well, it's 30%. That's not the case. I don't think this is something that the city needs to be involved in, especially now, again, because land in our city is at a minimum, at best. And that's why I don't think it's right for our city. It serves no purpose. And having these types of developments only increases, the population in certain areas. It's a strain on our services, and it's just not right. And that is why Council Bruin and I have decided to make an ordinance or repeal this ordinance. Thank you.
President Dillon, may I also
Yes.
point out, we have several existing ordinances on our books already that can serve that purpose of threes and fours, without the abuse of the open space. So that was the other reason, I think, it doesn't make sense for us to put ourselves in this position when we do have other ordinances could serve the same purpose.
Councilor Demias?
Thank you. I just want to thank both of my colleagues, Councilor Mercer-Bruin and Councilor DeMambro, because, many times in government, actually more than often than not, actions are more reactionary as, opposed to proactive. And I think this is a proactive approach. Looking at an old ordinance that I think we all were hearing about, organizations or developers that were nibbling around the edges on this particular cluster development ordinance and seeing what they could possibly get out of it, because to Councilor DeMero's point, there really isn't much land left to develop. It's all going to be redevelopments going forward. And, the larger developers could see this as an opportunity. And I think it would negatively impact the character of Woburn as a single and two-family home community where you would have these condensed versions of neighborhoods plopped down under the guise that this open space was being created. And I can tell you, after a previous petition was before us to use this cluster development zoning ordinance, I would never foresee folks from another neighborhood walking over to private property to use open space. And that's what it was being told to us as. So I thank them for their proactive approach, and I look forward to supporting the ordinance change.
You good? Yes, Councilor Viola.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to both my colleagues for all the work you've done on this. I think being the counselor from, I think, the only ward that actually has one of these cluster developments, I know exactly what you're talking about. And what it also was being touted was I possibly could have another one in my area as well in the near future if this were to stay in place. I think it would negatively impact the community and the area which it would go in. So thank you for all your hard work that you've done, and I look forward to supporting this.
Anyone else?
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
A motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone here in the audience who would like to speak on this matter? Please come forward.
Cashel, planning director for the city. I wanted to first bring forward the planning board's decision to support this at last week's meeting. And I'd just like to say, for a city such as Woburn, that's pretty much built out, I think this is a really good ordinance proposal. It hasn't been used. I mean, the project you're talking about off of Russell Street was in 1985. That was the year I started. It was under construction. It was a planning tool of the early 80s, and it does work well in communities that have vast amounts of open space, and you get to reduce the lot sizes, and you do protect a lot of trees in open space. In New Hampshire, and I was practicing planning up there for 17 years, they even have part of this now that you have to create grazing area for wildlife habitat. So for every 10 acres, you have to provide 2 acres of meadowlands, and it's for the rabbits and all the flora and fauna that are out there. And it did work well in Hudson, where I practiced, in all of those communities that do still have vast amounts of open space acreage. So you create less of a footprint impact, development impact on a 100-acre parcel, where you would probably end up with 2 acre zoning, perhaps 40 house lots, 2 acres. You pretty much take up that whole 100 acres, where you could reduce the lot sizes based on whether a town has sewer or septic system. The septic system is the limiting factor with how large a lot has to be in order to meet the septic capacity needs for the house or houses built on a property. In any event, Woburn has sewer, municipal sewer. And I think the worry of this consolidation effect with the value of land being as high as it is, would have, in all likelihood, an adverse effect with this open space cluster development ordinance being on the books. Probably nothing we can truly imagine yet, but as the value of land continues to skyrocket, you know, undeveloped or, say, existing homes in need of disrepair, or they're in disrepair, a number of them, and all of a sudden you have enough acreage, and then you're going to have one of these developments. And they're not really welcomed by existing neighborhoods, these type of developments. They really aren't, because they're out of scale and character, and they're different. And, you know, change is bad enough, but different change is even worse for a lot of people to fathom or go along with. So I commend you guys for thinking about this and actually doing something. I think it's a good thing for the long haul prospects for the community. Okay?
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak in this matter?
Hello, again, members of the City Council. I do appreciate...
Can you say, you have to say...
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
yes,
thank you. I please, and thank you.
So my name is Christopher Sylvia from 13 Bennett Street. 13 Bennett Street is just over there, and it is a non-conforming size. 13 Bennett Street, my home is on a 6,180 square foot lot, and I have to say, I like that size. I think that's a good size. I don't need any more land. I don't need any more grass to mow. And that's one of the reasons why I appreciate tinkering with the zoning code. I think it's good to proactively make the changes, as Councilor Deemer said, but that's why I have to ask the City Council not to vote in favor of this. I think that the cluster development ordinance is a good thing because it can promote the creation of smaller lots, and I think there's a lot of people out there who want smaller lots. I think that the problems with the cluster development ordinance are things which we could tinker with. You could make changes to the public access, but well, this is a public hearing, and that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
The motion and the second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a roll call vote on this.
There's no motion.
Oh, can I make a motion?
There we go.
Can I make a motion to do a roll call vote on this?
I'd love to make a motion to
I
adopt the ordinance.
make a motion to adopt the ordinance?
With a roll call?
As a roll call vote. Thank you.
Motion and the second. All in favor?
Aye.
It's by roll call. He asked.
Okay, by roll call.
No, I'll do it. Mr. President, I'll do it. Okay, motion and a second to approve the adoption of this ordinance by roll call. Councilor Campbell.
Aye.
Councilor Demers.
Aye.
Councilor DeMambro.
Aye.
Councilor Ferrullo.
Aye.
Councilor Mercer Bruin.
Aye.
Councilor Papalato.
Aye.
Councilor Toro's absent. Councilor Viola.
Aye.
President Dillon.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Good.
Make a motion that we take the next matter from the table.
Second.
And the next matter on the table is the order amending the Woburn Municipal Code, Section 2-194H for the Deputy Superintendent of Public Works.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes.
Make a motion that the order be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second that the order be adopted. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
Next item on the agenda is from committee reports. From the Committee on Personnel, appointment of John Wetzel to Woburn Commission on Disability. A committee report was received, ought to pass.
Make a motion the committee report be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
On the appointment of Marky Gaffney to the Woburn Golf and Ski Authority, a committee report was received, ought to pass.
Make a motion that the committee report be adopted.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
On the appointment of Caroline Perry to the Board of Trustees of Woburn Public Library, a committee report was received, ought to pass.
Motion that the committee report be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
On the appointment of Richard A. Sawyer to the Commission on Disability, a committee report was received, ought to pass.
Motion that the committee report be adopted?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item under the agenda is the communications and reports is the parking clerk report for January 2024.
Make a motion that the matter be received and placed on file.
Second.
Motion and a second that's placed on file, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
The next items on the agenda are various appointments. Appointment of Tracy A.R. Jolly to the Woburn Board of Registrars. Communication dated March 12, 2024 was received from His Honor the Mayor, Michael P. Concanon.
Make a motion the the communication be received, made part of the permanent record, that the matter be referred to the Committee on Personnel.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
On the appointment of Sakis S. Chenian as the Chair of the Woburn Board of Registrars of Voters. The communication dated March 13, 2024 was received from His Honor the Mayor.
Make a motion that communication be received, made part of the permanent record, and the matter be referred to the Committee on Personnel.
A
Second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is the appointment of Catherine Hahn to the Commission on Disability. A communication dated March 12, 2024 was received from His Honor the Mayor.
Make a motion that communication be received, made part of the permanent record, and the matter be referred to the Committee on Personnel.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
On the reappointment of Paul A. Scanlon Jr. to the Commission on Disability, a communication dated March 12, 2024 was received from His Honor the Mayor.
Make a motion that communication be received, made part of the permanent record, and the matter be referred to the Committee on Personnel.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passed.
Next item on the agenda, under motion, orders, and resolution, is an order imposing a restrictive covenant on the land commonly known as the Plimpton School.
Make a motion that the order be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second that the order is adopted, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is resolve regarding Eversource Underground Transmission Line and repaving of streets from Council Campbell.
Yes, on this particular resolve, I spoke with Superintendent Duran today. He was able to secure a schedule with Eversource for the completion of the work for Pickering and Border Lake and Arlington Road, including the repaving and the sidewalks, and also completing the intersection between Arlington Road and Lake Ave. And he's confident that the work will be started within the next few weeks, as long as the snow holds out. So I would like to make a motion to place it on file.
Second.
Second.
A motion and a second to place on file, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
With a motion and a second to adjourn.
Yep, there's a second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.